Okay, hello everybody. This is Claudia Baya again, and welcome all the world changers out there to another inspirational hot seat call. This time with the fear sensei Elio Roberts, who just happens to be my husband. And he is the man that can help you break through your fears, overcome your fears, and activate the courage that is inside of you, actually, that you might not know where to tap into. Now, before we go into this, like always, I'm checking in. What are some successes that you've had over the past, let's say, 2 weeks or so? And I'm going to start with mine. I have two that come up to my mind right now. One is that I closed another big sale, and then the other one is that most of you know that I'm pregnant. So for the first time, I actually felt my baby's kicks, not as a bubble that was coming up in my belly, but as an actual kick from the inside. It was kind of interesting when someone knocking. It was really cool. So that's pretty much my two successes that come up to my mind right now. What is something for you, for example, Michelle?
Two successes.
Well, one or two successes, doesn't matter. It can be small, it can be big.
Um, I don't know. I suppose generally, I'm here in the UK, so my work as a psychic medium is a little bit sort of up and down, and sort of I suppose my biggest success to date is I've had sort of the last 18 months working with some US soldiers for the
Mm.
intelligence of the US Army, which was a pretty interesting journey. And obviously being sort of someone that is out there to sort of prove that there's something else other than what we're consciously aware of. It's been an interesting journey. So, a good 18 months that I can put a big tick in the box and say, I've done that.
Very nice, very nice.
So,
Thank you for sharing. Cool.
okay.
Another thing that I can think of, for example, a big aha moment that I had, and actually just kind of came to me the last 2 days, like, and I actually shared that on Facebook today as well. And I remembered how important it is to choose to stay in the flow instead of letting things that happen outside of you, pretty much, destroy a positive mood. Because let's say, whenever we let something make us upset or angry, we we tend to let us get taken out of the flow and thus attract more of this kind of drama. We create more of the drama by being angry and angry and getting angry at the other person. We're responding in certain ways to the other person that drive the other person insane, which creates more and more drama. And it's very important that we make sure that, for one, we wake up in a good mood by, let's say, starting a good morning ritual, something that puts you in like a calm state or peaceful state or power state, whatever it is that you crave the most. And then the second thing is to actually make sure that when something happens, choose how you think about it, choose how you respond to it, choose what the meaning is that you give to it. And it's also important when other people are involved. That's very, very important there. It's kind of like the like attracts like. Now, what is something that you, for example, have come across with, like an aha moment that you've had, maybe with your work that you just shared us about?
A ha moment. I think they're sort of daily for me. Um, I suppose the one that does sometimes sort of shock me even now is where people find me. I've had some bizarre stories of how people have just come across my name, um, and my name just constantly comes up on searches when I don't sort of purposely put my website out there and sort of promote heavily. People just seem to fall upon my name, and again through social media. So I suppose that sort of is still something that surprises me quite often, is where people come from, and not just in the UK but obviously all over the world really. So I'm quite humble to the fact that I'm reaching the people, so which is lovely.
Very good. Very good. Beautiful. Thank you. Now, what are typically some actions that you're avoiding or procrastinating on because of maybe some fears that might be coming up?
I my sort of biggest fear, if I'm totally honest, is the media.
Hmm.
Because for me, obviously, I feel that my work puts me in a prime target for the skeptics to want to shoot me down. Um, and I've heavily avoided anything to do with TV and media because of that reason. Not because I've got anything to hide. I think it's because I sort of respect everything that I do, and I'm humble to what my abilities are as sort of someone that's open. And I just feel that there's a big nasty world out there of negativity that if I step into it, it will, I suppose, shatter all the positiveness that I put into my work over the years. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's probably the honest answer.
It's kind of like fear of hecklers in that way.
Yeah, not hecklers. I mean, I do demonstrations to hundreds of people, so that doesn't fear me. Hecklers are just people that, have got an opinion. We've all got one of those. But I think it is the mass media of what damage they can do to people's lives. I don't like that. It's negative and it's almost a bullying sort of tactic, which, I don't appreciate. And I know we need the media in lots of positive ways, but I think, especially within my field, I've seen some negativity.
Mm.
So,
So, and how is social media playing into that one? Because there's also the word media in
yeah,
there, you
yeah,
know.
social media. Yeah, there's good and bad. I've had a wonderful, I suppose, a good 8 years run now on social media. An awful lot of my work comes from social media through recommendations. You'll probably know I'm quite active on sort of Facebook and Twitter and everything, and you know, and I think I put a question out today, and said to sort of all of my followers, if you've met me in person, and then obviously see me sort of chatting on social media, how sort of accurate am I coming across to the person that you've met? And I've had some wonderful sort of feedback from that today. So, because I don't want to be perceived as someone that I'm not, I want it to be the
Mhm.
real me. So I think that's important.
Interesting, interesting. So let's see what Ilya has to say to the entire
Yeah.
thing.
You said your fear is around media, but what exactly is the attack of media that you're afraid of?
Um,
What kind of attack?
I suppose if I was to turn the fear of media into fear of fame, which is probably, if I'm honest, more of what I don't want, because I don't want to attract. I want to be a normal person is the honest answer. I'm a mum, a wife, and someone that does a job and I feel helps a lot of people. And if I was to take this to the next step, then I almost feel that I'll lose my true identity. So if I was to switch the sort of media fear into the fame fear, then that's probably what I'm trying to avoid, if that makes sense.
So it's not exactly the attack or the media twisting
No,
your words, but you're
no.
losing your freedom, seems like.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's probably what I meant.
Hmm.
I've seen an awful lot of people within my field want to push out there and to take sort of their career in a direction of TV um and that's just not me. I have done little snippets. I've done, interviews and all sorts of things, and it just didn't feel that that's where I belonged, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, I think there's an element of if obviously people want to get out there and I do public speaking, I think you've got to have an element of, I don't know if ego is the right word. Confidence is definitely something that you need. But I just feel that you lose the true identity to who you are because you then have to start jumping through hoops and be what the TV production companies want you to be, and I don't want to be that person.
Hmm. So it seems like every time and more that actually the fear, which I don't know if it's actually a fear, would be of like losing the sense of freedom or like having someone telling you what to do and things like that. But you also said that it's not something that you see yourself doing it. You don't see that much benefit of it. So why does this idea ruminates in your mind if you don't see that much of benefit? What makes it stay in your mind so much?
Probably because I know I can do so much more. and over the years, people have wanted to push me in lots of different directions, and I've put the brakes on, and I've kept the control, because I think that that's the most important thing, that I lead this journey because it is mine. I'm happy for people to assist, and I appreciate the help that I've been given along the way. But I think using your own intuition and your own senses to know what feels right is sort of paramount for me. And that journey is just not where I want to go. But I'm always pushed in that way. So
So it could be that the real fear is actually to say no to those people and actually terminate the possibility of it instead of actually the fear of being there.
I think because it keeps coming up, and it's happened more than a few times. It's happened quite often. I probably have enough avoidance tactics in place now,
Mhm.
and I have enough blocks in place to say, this is how I work. This is what I'm intending to do. It's not that I don't want to progress in my field. I will progress, but I'd like to do it in the right way with the right, I suppose, control. Yeah, I want to control it, and not for someone to control me.
Mm. So it is a matter of keeping the control then. It's
Yeah,
let me ask you something. Uh, are you more the driver or the passenger when you travel by car?
the driver.
Yeah. Do you have any fears of like flying or anything like that or no?
No.
Okay. Because we can see that, like, I don't know about Claudia, I can see very clearly that the sense of control is something that's important for you. It's something that you hold close. That's good. Uh, unless it takes you from taking your path. And if it really you can achieve your path by keeping the control, that's excellent. That satisfies you and satisfy your mission. But sometimes we need to let go of what satisfies us to satisfy our missions, and that's the tricky part to find out actually if you're not taking the action because of the fear of letting go of this benefit of the control,
Yeah,
or if it's actually you don't need to do this in order to achieve your mission.
yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
I
So,
understand. Yeah. Um, I suppose until the opportunity arises again, I won't know if it will feel right, or I suppose you have to assess everything as it comes in, and to what it feels right to yourself.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm. Maybe if you share your story about how you actually found out about all the fears that you had and also how you overcame them, maybe there's something in there, some lessons for her as well. And for Demetria. Hi, Demetria, by the way.
Hi.
I
Hi.
admit it.
Hi.
Okay, so let me share a little bit about my story with fear because I'm actually the fear sensei, and I'm at the same time one of the most fearful person in the world. Like I when I was 17, I could not even go to a fast food restaurant and ask for a meal because I was so afraid to talk to the cashier. So that's how scared I was, and not only social fears, but I had a phobia of heights. I remember I went to this uh, hotel in Las Vegas, and I wanted to go to the bar, which is in the top floor, and I got the elevator inside the hotel, and it looked very cool. But out of nowhere, it seems like all the lights came on, and I was like, "Wow, why is it so light in here?" And I looked to my back, the elevator had turned into panoramic, and that freaked me out. And when I saw that I had like the bar was on the fifth floor or something like that, and I was freaked out because I could see my house from up there, and it was a few blocks away, and I got very, very scared. And uh, also, I remember that I had a lot of other fears like cold calling and uh, fear of opening up myself to others. It's a lot of those fears. So I'm actually a very fearful person. The good thing though is because I had so much fear, I learned how to overcome those fears. So it became like I could find out a pattern to solve those. And nowadays, I'm very, very social. I'm a public speaker. Like, well, I could not go to in the classes in university and in high school where we have to do group work. I was always the guy who was writing down everything and people would present. Nowadays, I'm a public speaker. I'm a skydiver.
A debater.
I did debate once, but yeah, I jumped into the opportunity, and and I became very confident at doing the things that I was afraid of. And the good thing is, I did not have to eliminate my fear like most people think about, because when you eliminate your fear, you're reckless. Like, if I don't have any fear of driving, I'm just gonna go on the wrong way and speed up like double the speed limit and not care for the cops because I would have no fear of tickets, I would have no fear of accidents or anything. So I learned to control the fear and act in spite of it. And I found out something actually very interesting that I'm going to be sharing with you now. Can you see my screen now?
Moment, not yet, because as long as we see the.
Can you see my screen now?
Can you guys see the screen?
Yeah.
Confidence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Click on that.
What happened is most people, they believe that confidence is only confidence. And then they try to work on their confidence and they try to be more confident and like just be confident. And that never works, right? It's so difficult because confidence is actually courage plus competence, times competence. I mean, it's like another way that people try to develop their confidence is studying, and they learn a lot. Let's say, for instance, a salesperson who wants to be more confident. They just try to study and go to Salesforce after Salesforce after Salesforce. But as one thing that I realized is actually courage times competence. So it is not just I'm going to increase my competence and I'm going to feel confident in something, because the courage is an important part. Because without the courage for the salesperson, for instance, to go on and call people, they can't make a sale. They can't feel confident. Like they can go and know all the methods, but if they don't call, they don't feel confident.
And they won't use those methods.
And they won't use it. And the same thing. Let's say if a person just have courage and they don't want to study, they're gonna be calling, but they can never be confident about the results of making the sales because they don't know how to handle objections, or they don't know what to say, how to generate the desire, understand the customer. So it is actually, they work synergetically, and one builds up on the other. So if a person has zero courage in terms of they can't make up their mind and take the action, it doesn't matter how much competence they have, because any number times 0 is equal 0. So for developing confidence is all about working those two together. And what I found out, it is that it's actually easier than it seems to develop this confidence, because once you understand this screen, it's very easy, because you just first have to work on courage and then develop the competence after you have the courage, because then it multiplies.
Can I have an example?
Yeah.
Actually, my example is when I remember before I met my husband, I was doing a lot of research on how to find the perfect guy, how to be right in a relationship. And so I knew all of these things consciously, but when in the moments of conversation with men, I was never able to actually use the information. I was always going back to the old me, you know. And when I was working on the courage side, in my case, what I call emotional freedom, kind of getting rid of all the fears, the doubts, the worries, only he does it a little bit different than I do. When I did that, suddenly all of the things that I actually studied before suddenly made sense and became natural to me. And that I think has a lot to do with this one here as well, when they work naturally together.
Yeah, exactly. And going back to this method, how do I develop courage? Since we're talking about a lot about this, because what is confidence? Confidence is about facing the fear. It's just about going there and take action. And like, how can you face your fear if you actually don't have the courage? That's impossible. So we cannot have a pyramid by starting on the top. We got to start from the foundation. The foundation, the first 3 levels in this pyramid, it is actually the courage. And it's very easy. The first step is to get awareness. Is to actually know what is it my real fear. Like when we were talking to Michelle here, Michelle said first was the fear of media, and then we went deeper and deeper, and we found out it's actually the fear of losing control. And that's the source of the fear. So now that we know the source, we can go to the second step, which is actually understand it. And it might seem very similar to this, but it is not. Like, to understand your fear, it means to actually know if this fear is an emotional fear or a logical fear. For instance, most people, whenever they are afraid of, let's say, rejection, they go and they try to talk themselves out of the fear. They say, oh, but it's a numbers game. Or you just got to do it. You have 0 chance if you don't take the action. And all those things. But it's the same thing that if I would be speaking here Chinese to everyone who just speaks English. Nobody would be able to understand, and I wouldn't be able to pass my message. So if we understand that our fear, it is emotional, we have to combat it with emotions. If it is a logical fear, we have to combat with logic. And like, for instance, we have 2 instinctive fears, which is fear of loud noises and fear of falling. So whenever someone is in a concert, they are not afraid of the loud noises because they got used to that. They condition their body by going to concert after concert, by listening to music in the earphones. All those things cancel out those 2 instinctive fears. And there's the same, for instance, for the fear of heights or the fear of falling. I used to be afraid of heights, and I found out that by training my body and by changing my perception, I could skydive without any fear because my body gets used very fast.
And now he's addicted to skydiving.
And now I'm addicted. It becomes the only reason why skydiving is so good, and the only reason why it produces a lot of adrenaline, is because there's still that instinctive fear in me, but it's under my control, so I don't feel it. And that's the beauty of it. Once you learn how to control your fear, you become the master of it, so you can use it always to your benefit. And it is understanding the fear has a lot more into it. Like, for instance, understand the benefits that the fear brings to you. Understanding, like, oh, is this fear bringing me certainty of I am able to do something? Is this fear bringing me variety? Is this fear allowing me to be more to experience more things in life? Is this fear stopping me from, let's say, losing my love and connection with some people? Because some people don't want to achieve too much and be too big because they're afraid of the people around them, their friends, are going to leave them. And that ends up affecting them. And and you can understand, when you understand those things, it actually it's much easier to do the third step, which is the change of perspective. And this step alone, when you of course understand the two priors, this alone can get you an immense amount of confidence, because you're changing the whole view of the subject. For instance, when I was afraid of speaking public, my mind was always thinking, oh, what are the people thinking about me? Like, what are they gonna say about me? And all those negative things that they are doing to me. So once I got awareness and I could actually see that this fear was actually a fear of judgment, and when I understood it, that actually it was affecting my ego, I could change the perspective very easy by just changing my question from what are others thinking about me to how can I give my message and help those people in the best way possible? How can I make my message the clearest as possible? Once that is done, my fear turned always into excitement. There was no fear anymore. I just feel the excitement in my body every time I go to speak, because I know that I'm going to be sharing a message that's going to be transforming people. So the fear is gone. And those three steps is what builds the courage. But then you need to develop the competence as well to have an unshakable confidence. So the next two steps is all about developing the competence, developing the knowledge, the skills that allow you to be certain that you're actually going to take the action and getting the result. When you complete those first three steps, you're already certain that you're going to take the action. But if you don't have the competence, you don't know about the result, what the result's going to be, and you're okay with it. But it's much better to know that you're going to take the action and you're likely to get a result. So for that, the fourth step is to find the resources. What resources do you need? What books? What mentors? What do you need to develop in yourself in order to do this? Which tools do you need to perform this action? And after you do this, you just need to condition the change. Kind of like going to the gym and working out your muscle week after week. The more you do it, the stronger it gets. So you work on the courage and you put on the knowledge. So you condition this knowledge, taking the actions, and then you can be certain that you can take your action. And once you do that, then you're okay to face your fear. Because you're going to do the thing that scared you, and you're going to realize that actually it doesn't scare you that much. Because you already dealt with a lot of things similar in the past. Because on this condition to change step, one of the techniques I tell my clients to use is one thing that I call progressive overload.
I love this when he does that with his clients.
Yeah. What does it mean? It means that I'm going to be putting challenges that are a little bit bigger than the previous challenge and a little bit bigger each and every time. So, like, you build up not only your knowledge and your skills, your competence, but at the same time you're already building up the confidence because you know that you're getting it. So, for instance, let's say that if I would be afraid of speaking public again, what could I do after changing my perspective and learning a little bit of public speaking? I would go and speak in a group of 5 people, then on a group of 20 people, 100 people, 200 people, 1,000 people, and you get more and more comfortable every time.
And you can also take it in the other direction where you say talking about certain subjects that might be safe first, and then going more and more controversial maybe. Exactly,
expanding, like doing it can be also from time. You can be like working and speaking for 7 minutes, then for 30 minutes, then for an hour, then for a day. It could be all those things because once you work in conditioning the change whatever your fear is, when you reach this step, you won't have it anymore. So you won't even know what the fear was because it's just gonna be natural to you.
Yes, exactly. Now, do you guys have any questions, or what kind of questions or thoughts are coming up for you guys when you heard Elliot talking about these?
Think about understanding the fear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it has to be mostly subconscious, I guess. All fears,
Hmm.
or maybe are they rooted in other areas? Um, for instance, I think I have the fear of drowning, although I know how to swim. But I think when I was a child, one of my uncles, I must have been like 4 years old or something. He threw me into the pool because his philosophy was, "Oh, just throw them into the pool and they'll learn." But, sink or swim, okay? And my mother was upset, and my grandmother was upset. And he did that to everybody. He threw my brother, he threw all of us in the pool, and so I did not have neither courage or competence at that age, but I survived. So that is, so sometimes, I think maybe because of that, or sometimes, people have fear of spiders or things, but those are deep rooted. Those go back years.
The
So,
thing is, you can develop fears. What's one thing that I learned? You can develop fears for even watching a movie. I mean, I got embedded in, I don't know if you know the movie Sleeping with the Enemy, but I got embedded the fear of very masculine men when I watched this the first time. Because I thought, well, she must have thought this guy was safe by the time she got married to him, and then afterwards he turned into a monster. You know? Just by watching a movie, you can get fears, or by watching something happening to someone else. I don't know if
Yeah,
you have something you
and
can go by.
going back to what Dimitri was saying about like he already get awareness of what the fear is, and you're talking about fear of spider. Like uh, sometimes actually for understanding the fear is so important that the fear of spider. For instance, I had a client about 2 months ago that she came to me about her phobia of spider, and within 6 minutes it was gone. 6 minutes in session because we realized that when we reached the level of understanding the fear, her fear of spider, it wasn't a fear of spider actually. It was actually the way that she used to connect to her mom because her mom had a teenage pregnancy and she ended up being raised by her grandma, and her mom kind of like resented her, so uh, she she was using this subconsciously to get together with her mom because whenever she saw her mom and her mom had a panic attack because of she saw a spider, she would get as well. So she would always feel the fear, this phobia of spider, whenever she would be in a bad emotional state. In a good emotional state, she would not even notice the spider. But whenever she fought with her boyfriend, whenever she fought with her mom, she would then see it and she would go crazy after it. And when we realized that, we talked about it. I just asked, like, do you feel that you're loved by your mom? And then she started crying. And I gave her a mission. Like, just go and tell your mom that you love her and accept your mom, even if she doesn't love you, even if you don't feel that she loves you. And she told me that the next day, after she done this, she saw a spider in her living room, and she calmly picked up a glass and took off the spider and threw the spider outside.
mhm.
She did not sleep with the spider, touch the spider, play with the spider, but she could calmly take the spider and throw it out just by understanding. Because you don't need to go through all the 6 steps into this pyramid. Those are the 6 steps of the change. But most likely, what is stopping you is only in one of those spots. The thing is, you don't know which one of those spots is beforehand. So the way to go is from the bottom up, because when you reach the point what is actually it was the challenge with your fear, that is gonna be gone. You're gonna be unlocking your true power because it is part of you already, the confidence. Like we confident people. Like when we are born, we don't know how to walk, and we decided, and we just go and walk. We don't ask ourselves, oh, but what if I fail? Oh no, people are gonna laugh at me. Oh, I stood up now and I fell face on the floor. There's nothing like this. You're just like standing up and falling, standing up and falling until you can walk. And the same is with talking. Like you don't worry about people being more powerful than you, people being smarter than you. You just go and try to talk, and you join conversations you should not join, and you speak everything wrong. People correct you. Some people make fun of you, and you just don't care. You kept speaking until you learn, until you can speak. And that's why babies can learn like 5, 6 languages when they're a baby, and after we grow up, we get afraid to learn one, and it's so hard to learn because people are afraid just of having uh, this judgment from other people. But that's not something that is inside of us. That's something that people put into our minds and stops us.
Do you think, because you said there's only one thing out of those 6 that is probably stopping, say, us or me or us, all of us. Do you think it's the same thing for each fear with the same person, or is it different things?
It is always different. It is always different because it could be really that you don't have the competence. So in rare cases, it's that you don't have the competence. Because most times when people think there is the lack of competence that creates the fear, it is actually because it's not. Because it is just a logical mind trying to say, oh, it is because of that, I need to prepare myself. But the truth is, most of the times, if the person thinks it's competence, it is because it is a courage issue. And the way to go is just go through all the steps, fear by fear, and overcoming it. Just the way.
Could it actually be that fears can go stronger when you work only on the confidence side because you see, oh, there's so many more things that I should do?
Yeah, that's just a way to drag on the courage. If you have overconfidence and it's just too many things that you don't put into action, your body doesn't have internal understanding. Like, for instance, we're using the sales metaphor before. If the person just learned 5 different sales method, they're gonna be unsure which one they should follow, and they end up not following any, and then builds up more because it is not an issue in competence; it's an issue of courage.
I see. Are there any other thoughts or questions that came up for you when you heard Elio speak about this, or maybe stories on your end?
I'm thinking.
Kenya, Michelle, do you have also something that you might want to add or think of?
I'm thinking myself.
Okay.
Well, I'm trying to think what your husband said, that whatever fears people may have, and more specifically, whatever fears of rejection or fears of cold calling or even fears of failure or success, that they are related to maybe another fear, like the girl who had apparently the fear of spiders. It wasn't really because she had the fear of spiders, because it was related to another fear, another issue. So I'm trying to find some relevance in that too. That because I really like the pyramid explanation, because I found that too. That by so like the example of swimming. Okay, I just jump in. Okay, I just jump in the water. Okay, I don't have, you know, so one would think, well, he doesn't have fear because he just jumps in, or he just jumps into the business, or he just jumps into talking to people, or he just jumps into you know, sales mode or something. So one would think, and maybe I would even tell myself, well, I don't have that fear because I just jumped in. But actually, I think I actually do because I don't have, maybe because I lack maybe some of the other steps, maybe because I'm lacking you know, the competence, or maybe I'll jump into, you know, something, but then maybe I'll make a mistake, or maybe I'll fail, or the meeting didn't go right, or the sales call didn't go right. So it's kind of like the example, like, you know, even maybe about 3 years ago, I went with my son to a Boy Scout camp. And, you know, in Boy Scouts, you have to get your badges and qualifications for swimming, okay? So I jumped in the water, too. And you have to, like, swim, like, 10 meters and come back and do all these things. And I actually failed. And they said, "Oh, they said I need to go to like beginners swimming skills, you know." And here I am, a grown man, and I think it was because, I think it was because of my health. Like, yeah, you know, I cannot swim 20 meters and come back or things like that. That's, you know, it was a challenge. So I think my area is to build up the competency, build up the skills. You know, I don't know. I'm trying to find some relevance, but because some people may think, well, no, I don't have a fear of that. Like, I don't have a fear. Like right now, I could say to myself, I don't have a fear of skydiving, you know, even though I've never skydived. I don't have a fear of heights because I used to work in building. Yeah, but at the same time, you know, I think because of maybe I'm lacking the skill, I'm lacking the competence, or maybe the lack of the, you know, not really understanding or having some awareness that that, you know, the fear is there. The fear is there, but it's like interconnected or related to something else.
Thank you. That's actually a very good example of what you just said, Dimitri, because you clearly needs the competence to develop this competence in swimming. But your logical mind's already telling you, I need to learn how to swim better. Yeah. When it actually, as a former surfer, I can tell you, it is not the fear, it is not the swimming that you have to develop, but your ability to deal with the drowning. And that's the jump, that's the catch. Because when I was surfing once, I remember, it was like, the sea was quite big, and I was like 20 people in the water, in the whole beach. And then came a big wave, like a series of 5 waves actually, that like, I took the first wave, and I could not breathe until the second one, and I went down. And then I could not breathe in the third one either. So I stayed down, and then between the third and the fourth, I got up, I could catch a breath, and I already crashed the fourth and crashed the fifth. And I was totally humiliated because I thought like, oh, everyone is gonna laugh at me and all my ego in the way. And I realized that from the 20 people, there were only 5 still on the sea. 15 went to the sand because it was like too big, was out of nowhere waves. And after that, I got really, really afraid of getting caught by waves like that out of nowhere. So I got really afraid of drawing. Even when a small wave would come, I would go underwater, and I would be afraid. So what I had to do, it was actually to train myself in my ability to stay longer underwater, which is called apnea, which means that I learned to stay 15 seconds underwater calm, and then raise, then 30 seconds, then 45 seconds, and I got close to a minute. I did not reach a minute, but I got very close. Guess it was like 50-something seconds.
I think the Navy SEALs are training for that as well.
Yeah, there's a called apnea training. And I remember after that, every time that I would actually get caught by a wave, I would calmly go down, and I would even stay underwater longer than I used to be before, because I trust my ability to deal with the drowning. And in Brazil, there was a really big news once. I remember when I was young, I was a kid, I guess, that an Olympic swimmer got drowned. He drowned himself on the sea and has to be rescued by the lifeguards. And what happened was, after I became a surfer, I understood, because he's a good swimmer, so he tried to swim back to the sand, and what happened was he wasn't prepared to fight that current, because it's very, very strong current sometimes. And instead of being calm and going after the waves, which the waves are going to be only until 200-meter maximum from the sand, he was actually fighting, and he got exhausted. And then, even though he had huge competence, he was Olympic swimmer, he could not get to the sand, and he ended up drowning.
Wow.
Because it was not the competence of swimming, but the competence of handling with the sea. And that's what happens with the fear. Most people think that the solution is focusing on one thing, like the technical skills and etc. But it could be in the strategy skills as well. To know, like, how can I make sure that even if I drown, I'm gonna be like 1 minute underwater. Like powerful surfers, I don't know if you saw any surfer movie ever, but like there's always showing people carrying stones underwater, and that's because they literally have to walk underwater if they're surfing a huge wave in a reef place. They have to stay 2 minutes underwater while swimming, or having the patience and the calmness to pick up a knife and cut the cord from the board, so if the board gets tangled in the rocks. So it is not only the main skill, but the supportive skills, the strategy skills, I would say, that's also important to develop. In your case, for drawing, it would be the breathing, the control of breath control skills.
Would that be falling under the competence, just a different kind of competence?
It would be a different kind of competence. And that's the importance of understanding the second step of the fear, which is understanding the fear. Because the fear, it's not a fear of swimming, it is a fear of drowning. And he already knows that, he already get the awareness. But then he did not understand what triggers it. And that's what is important, to understand what triggers the fear. And what triggers the fear is not having the air. So it's not about swimming. You can swim, you said, but it is about handling the situations where you're actually scared of.
So what would be the next step for him then?
To expand his breath control.
So be finding resources and be...
Yeah, maybe look for apnea course, or just go with a friend and say, like, I'm going to be timing myself for 30 seconds. If I pass out, please take me off. Just to be sure, it's not going to pass out, but just to be sure, it's safe to have someone nearby when you're doing those things.
Very good. Very good.
No, thank you for that. Yeah. Because like I said, because and that happens with many people, where you say to yourself, well, I really don't have a fear, or you think you don't have a fear. Like I said, so I know how to swim. I know how to swim. That's not the issue. But I do have a very kind of maybe a curious fear, is that I'm very interested in scuba diving, but I think I procrastinate and I hold myself back from doing that, because, like you said, I still have the fear of drowning. And it's not because I can swim. I know I can swim, but it's the fear of like losing my breath under the water.
Yeah. So that would be an apnea training, and then go. Let's say if I would have just to make a tracking for you now on how you could do it, even though we have a short term here, I cannot elaborate that more, but it would be first focus on developing your breath, let's say to at least a minute, and then go scuba diving, but with the only mask, no oxygen tank, and you try to go as deep as you can and up, as deep as you can and up. And after you feel comfortable with that, then you go to a tank one, which you can go deeper, because you know, in case something happens and you lose the tank, you have time to go up by yourself. And that's what real confidence is about, when you trust yourself, not the equipment.
What you just described is pretty much conditioning the chains of progressive overload.
Yeah, progressive overload.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. So what are you taking away from this call? Now, the other two ladies, the two ladies unfortunately had to leave a little bit early, but what are you taking away personally from this call?
Well, I'm taking away because I'm looking for applications and for parallels in the business world and sales and family and personal life, and so I really appreciate the insights here on and understanding and awareness and building up the competencies and things like that, because I mean this is good advice too, even to pass on to my son, who's he's in sports, and it's my son plays soccer and he plays basketball, and they're very competitive, and all his friends are very competitive. And sometimes I tell them, when they play against another team, that the difference between winning and losing, I tell them that you can beat these teams, you can win, because for them it's not a matter of skill. You see that because they are all highly skilled. They are all highly skilled soccer players and basketball players. So it's not. I tell them it's not. It's not because that team is better than you. It's not because those boys are better soccer players than you. No, you are equally matched in skill. So so your the issue of winning or issue of being competitive is I tell them it's in the mind. It's like who has more pelotas, who has more cojones, who has more balls, who's it's you have to overcome that, if they look bigger than so that's a little bit different. So now here's a little twist. They have the skill sets, they have the competency. Okay, so what is it in the pyramid that is where they need to overcome in order to be successful? You see, so it's the opposite. So it's the opposite of what I said. You see, I don't have to. I have the cojones. I just jump in the water. I'm not scared of the water, and I'm scared of swimming. But I said, but there was maybe the several factors underneath on the pyramid, on the line end. See, but with the boys or my son, it's the opposite. They have all of the skill set. They have the courage as well. But I think sometimes it's a mindset that they play against one team, or they just like I want to beat that team. I got to beat these guys. But then again, they get. I think they're afraid of them.
Yeah, and exactly the step that they are right now is right here. Condition to change, because they gotta be like doctors now. Like, what is the doctor training for the surgery? Because like the first time a doctor would operate somebody, if he did not have the medical training, his hand would be shaking. And you cannot have someone operating your brain with the hand shaking. It has to be precise. It has to be steady. So they practice a lot in cadavers. That's the way to eliminate that performance anxiety. Kind of like us men, when we're with a woman and we say, I want to last longer, I want to last longer, and it's fast. That's the moment when it's fast, because it's performance anxiety. So the way for them to perform better is the same way that the same thing that actually differentiates amateurs from professionals in any sport is how I can deal with the pressure. And that comes in two phases. It comes in conditioning the change, which means practicing a lot and a lot and a lot, and also changing the perspective, working on changing the perspective. And
yes.
Play, even if there is 1,000 people watching them, play as if they would be playing during the training session. Even if there is a championship trophy in game right now as the finals, they should have to play exactly like they're playing uh, in the training. That's what gonna be the difference between performing like they can and performing poorly like they do.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the whole difference. Like especially like in golf, for instance, most people can do the same part than Tiger Woods can, but they can't do that in a competition. They can do a lot of birdies. A lot
Yeah,
of people
yeah,
do a lot of birdies, but they don't do birdies when they're in a competition.
that's true. Yeah,
The other thing that
yeah.
I was thinking of, which we kind of touched but you didn't go into, is the difference between the instinctive, the emotional, and the
Yeah.
logical fear. Can you maybe just very briefly go into that?
This is gonna take a while, so we can leave for a next call, but yeah.
Okay. All right. So,
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Demetrio,
Thank you,
and the other
Dimitri.
ladies as well. Yeah, the next call is going to be in 2 weeks at this same time. Okay, so remember that. It's going to be 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. in the morning, New York time, and which is the same as 3 o'clock London time, people. Okay, so thank you so much for those that showed up, and remember to put it into action. This is not just a nice time that we're having here, which we do, but also for you to put it into action. So think about how you're going to use these ideas and put it into your life. Okay.
okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.